there in practice. But it's very important that we understand the physics of this if we're to have full confidence in the tools that we have. Right, so what I'm going to do now is to move on to a worry I have about the use of models. Not with that particular model, but models in general. Really, for the politicians, the development of fire safety engineering came at a very fortunate time for them. It was, of course, a coincidence, but there was a worldwide trend towards performance-based regulatory reform, and here were the tools that could be used in its support. But they're not mature, and what's actually happened is, I think, this is a personal view, is that it's been assumed that they're fine. Okay, we don't need to. In the experiment, there is a small difference between the mass entering the compartment and the mass leaving it, and that difference is the mass injection. And Steve will know that's something you throw away. It can't be right. So we have to be very, very careful. Well, there is some guidance, at least on the older Reynolds average type codes, how not to misuse them. Hopefully it's helpful. There is a chapter in the SFP handbook on it. There is guidance from the Health and Safety Executive. And in fact, what was called the Office of the Deputy Prime Minister in this country initiated a project on what they call key performance indicators in fire research, in fire engineering. And one element of that was the erection of a scheme to assess computer model performance. Now, this has still not been published. It's in a report, but it's not been formally published. And I think it's important that that is made available to everybody. So now I want to move on to another element. You can go so far with deterministic models. If you understand your science, hopefully you can come up with a model that is reliable if you know what the boundary conditions are and the initial conditions. But we deal with the real world, and the real world is difficult. You can only go so far. And I've got an illustration from some work I did recently with my colleagues on the Mont Blanc fire, and I can see I can't show a lot of these slides because time won't permit it. But